Undertale in the Stream of Consciousness. Undertale has had me thinking over the past couple of weeks after finishing the game, and I'd like to share one aspect of what I learned from it. That aspect is the stream of consciousness design that carries throughout the game. Disclaimer, please take everything I'm about to put forth with a grain of salt, as they're just ideas I've gathered over the years and through playing Undertale, and they aren't based on any scientific research, and most of the content being discussed is largely subjective. I'm just working this stuff out for myself, but I hope others might find value in it or add to the conversation. What is the stream of consciousness? The creative process of any artist in any media goes through many stages. It always begins as an idea, and many times that idea is formed in the creative place known as the stream of consciousness. For a lot of us, the best times to access it are early in the morning when we wake up and are still in bed, or as we're trying to fall asleep, when we detach ourselves from our electronics and the constant distractions of life have been eliminated. We're left alone with our thoughts. The stream of consciousness, to me, is a space between the two worlds of unconscious and conscious, where we can tap into some portion of our unconscious thoughts, while still maintaining the ability to control our thoughts and remember them via writing or drawing or other means. The mind state required to access the stream of consciousness is an almost dreamlike state while we are conscious, in other words, daydreaming. In my opinion, the creator of Undertale, Toby Fox, was able to tap into his creative stream and was able to keep much of his creative process submerged in that stream. Our unconscious can process much more information much more quickly than our conscious, but lacks the focus of our conscious mind. An example of your unconscious processing information quickly is when you see an object flying towards your face and you close your eyes before your conscious mind can even register what's happening. On the flip side, your unconscious mind can't do your calculus homework for you or focus on learning a new skill, for instance. Our unconscious has quick access to our previous experiences and knowledge and can combine them to form what we perceive as new ideas. It can do this much more efficiently than our conscious mind. I believe that almost all creative works tap into the stream of consciousness to some degree or another, but I believe that Toby was able to tap into it during the creative, design, and storytelling processes at an extremely high rate in creating Undertale, and was able to follow through in that manner through the creative portion of developing the game. Enemies of the stream of consciousness. The stream of consciousness involved in the creative process can be interrupted by almost anything, and it's part of why I think so many polished and AAA titles are so similar and don't break new ground mechanically or artistically much of the time. Part of the reason is profit-driven, but I believe at least a portion of it comes from the enemies of the stream of consciousness. One of the things that can interrupt the stream is meddling clients, directors, or managers. Each person who works on our project, while it will most definitely increase the production speed, will interrupt the stream of consciousness. The more people whose hands touch a project, especially if they have final decision-making authority, the more likely it will revert to the average taste of everyone involved. This reversion can cause a game's developers to push fewer design boundaries and even create a bureaucracy, resulting in mediocrity or worse. Undertale was largely developed and all the final design decisions were made by one man, so this interrupter was not an enemy of the stream in the development of Undertale. Sometimes our own insecurity will cause us to interrupt our own stream. With too much doubt, we sabotage our own great ideas. Not every idea, however, is a great one, so many of our ideas should be questioned, especially early in our creative lives. However, once we have confidence in our creative and storytelling abilities, we should avoid doubt while creating our art, especially in the initial stages. If Miyamoto had questioned himself while developing Super Mario Bros., thinking the ideas were outlandish or stupid, we wouldn't have the mushroom-eating, turtle-stomping plumber that we know and love today. If you're surrounded by people interrupting you who aren't involved in your project, it can be distracting and stop the flow of your stream. The worst variety of these would be the detractors, the type of person who might say something like,
"Get your head out of the clouds,"
while you're daydreaming or creating some form of art. In my observation, every person who's ever come up with a great idea or a life-changing invention has had their head in the clouds for some extended period of time, and I would guess that Toby Fox is one of them. On the flip side, having multiple people share ideas and brainstorm who are all genuinely interested in the project can create a large stream of consciousness. I think there's a fine line between creating a collective stream of consciousness between multiple contributors and the potential bureaucracy that can be created from it, resulting in the exiting of the stream and reversion to the mean. Undertale is a game largely created by one man, and it's one of the best, if not the best example I've seen of a stream of consciousness resulting in a full-fledged video game. No person creating a piece of media will ever fully capture a person or team's original stream of consciousness, and there's always going to be obstructions. But Undertale somehow made it through with as few obstructions to the stream as I've seen in a game. If someone had told him, or he had questioned himself during the development over many of the decisions he made, the quality and impact of the game overall would have suffered. Spoilers ahead. Click the annotation to skip the spoiler. Someone could have told Toby, "Dude, this game has been a quirky RPG up until this point. You can't make the last boss a high-resolution plant monster with nearly undodgeable bullet patterns that shuts your game off and saves and loads states while you're trying to kill him." End of spoiler. If Toby had listened, he would have made a solid game, but it wouldn't have been nearly as memorable. There are many other examples of things in the game that are unconventional to the genre, and if he'd chosen to stick to convention, he'd have made a much less impactful game. For instance, a minor example is the shopkeepers who refuse to buy your extra items, breaking the standard convention in RPGs that allows you to sell any and all your useless junk to any vendor you find in the game. A major example is the ability for the player to complete the game without killing a single enemy. Emotions in Undertale. Undertale is dreamlike. The storytelling flow of the game moves in a way similar to a dream, moving from one seemingly unrelated scenario to another. At times it can be confusing, with frequent non sequiturs. Undertale affected me in a visceral and emotional way. A large portion of the content in Undertale triggers our emotions. Our base emotions come from the amygdala, sometimes referred to as the lizard brain or the hindbrain. I'm gonna go with lizard brain though, I like that one. Our emotions are produced by our lizard brain quickly analyzing a situation and giving us feedback in the form of an emotion or feeling. This feedback helps us make informed decisions based on our current situation. Undertale taps into this part of our brain as an integral part of its design. It's almost as if the creator is trying to pull us from our higher brain towards his lizard brain, and we land with a splash squarely in his stream of consciousness. The dreamlike world that he created feels almost untouched by the enemies of the stream, and I would hazard to guess that the assets for the game were not obsessed over and the initial vision that he had in his mind was kept more intact in doing so. For the most part, the graphics are simple and even crude at points. The main character's sprite is even drawn a little bit off-center. I think this is perfectly fine, and the way the graphics are drawn contributes to the otherworldly feel of the game. When creators get bogged down with trying to make everything technically accurate, they're met with obstructions and distortions in their stream. At worst, perfectionism ensues, and at that point all hope for maintaining that stream is lost. You might as well dam up the whole thing and go make another kart racing game with no new mechanics. Stream of consciousness and storytelling in Undertale. Undertale doesn't appear to have any traditional flow to the storytelling and movement between areas. Things seem to blend together in a surreal kind of way. In most RPGs you expect the format, town dungeon, or at least some kind of structured sequence to the game that you will learn early on. The structured sequence is never revealed in Undertale, because it doesn't have any traditional structure, as in a dream. There is one part of Undertale that is pretty clearly a town, but the rest of the areas kind of blend together and nothing feels specifically like a dungeon or a town safe zone. There's never a point in the game where you can be certain what type of gameplay will ensue, or where the story is going. Another interesting note is that later on in the game you're able to travel back to earlier parts of the game by boat, over an actual stream. Wow, this style of storytelling in Undertale is similar to the way that children tell stories. They tend to go from one subject to another, frequently with little relation to each other. Their creativity hasn't yet been tainted as heavily by potentially negative reinforcement from school, peers, or adults.
Get your head out of the clouds!
While this nearly unfettered access to the stream that kids seem to have is a good thing, it's also true that they generally suck at storytelling. Only through careful study of storytelling through their formative and into their adult years will a child grow into an adult capable of good storytelling or design in his chosen media. Once he has all the rules and technical aspects of storytelling and design mastered, and he has them ingrained into his subconscious, he must then tap back into a stream of consciousness to create the most original and creative work that he's capable of. I believe that Toby Fox has been able to achieve this state of skill, while retaining the ability to tap into his stream of consciousness. He's created a unique game that pulls us through his stream of consciousness in a way that few pieces of media do. Thanks for listening, and let us know what you think in the comments. See ya!